Hello, I'm your host, Effie Pilarino, and today I am joined by a good digital friend, Barb McLean. Welcome, Barb.
Thank you, Effie. I'm so happy you invited me.
Yeah, I'm so happy to meet you in person, at least digitally.
Right.
And as we were saying offline, we have a connection. I've lived in Canada, in the Quebec area, and I know what winter is about. And I'm sure your temperature today is definitely below my Swiss temperature. What is it really?
Today it's about minus 25 or minus 30, and it feels a lot colder than that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can't. I still listen to Radio Classique Montréal because it's a beautiful station with no ads, but they have these snippets where they report, the weather forecast, and I hear the temperatures and I'm like, oh, I hope this is not Switzerland. In any case, it's such a pleasure to meet you. The inspiration that you have given to me through your Fintech playlist is just amazing. I find myself reading articles from others and thinking what kind of music song kind of connects with this, and it's fascinating. So tell us, how did this start? How was the idea born, and how did you make it happen?
I appreciate that so much, and I think it's one of those things that it was just something that felt obvious to me. Music has always been really important to me, and I've never found a way to sort of bring it into my professional life. I had one side adventure where Chris Skinner and I did a cross-continent karaoke song together during the pandemic, but that's probably the only time where those two things seem to cross paths. And I want to say it was about last fall. I was reading one of Lita Glyptis's posts because of course she is one of those folks in our industry that equips us with this beautiful content every week. And I read one of her posts and I immediately had in my mind a song that to me spoke the message of what she was trying to share. And then the idea just came on, would people be interested to sort of read a compilation of here's some of the great content that people are creating and sharing, and songs that I feel inspired to say are similar to or sharing the same kind of message as whatever their article or post might have been. So I messaged Lita and I said, do you think people would be interested to read that? And it was her, encouragement and kind words that really gave me the idea, well, just try it. It was one of those things where what could possibly go wrong? People just may not read it and I'm doing it for fun, just for my own interest, and that certainly would have been fine. So it really was thanks to her encouragement that I actually started to do it. And I actually have been kind of blown away and overwhelmed by people's reaction. I actually really didn't think that people would enjoy it as much as I was. But folks throughout the industry have been reaching out on, would you mind including my article this week? And I've actually had several people convey similar comments as you just have on, it actually is prompting their own thinking on, I've read this story and it for me then triggered, well, here's a song that reminds me of this message. So I'm actually blown away by how much
Barb,
people
are some people, writers already contacting you and suggesting, here's my write-up, article, blog, whatever, with the music that goes with it, or they expect it from you, the matchmaking?
They are. Some folks are saying, here's the thing I wrote and I think this is a song that goes with it. Some people maybe are of a similar mindset to me, that, you know, music is an important part of their life, and you can see they're subtly weaving in themes from music into what they write. I've actually then had others take someone else's post and send it to me with their own suggestion. So it's actually been wild. I had no idea that it would resonate so much with people.
It's amazing, you know, the interactivity and you know, making fun. And you know, this reminds me also some Twitter games and threads where somebody asks a question and then they say, without giving an explicit answer, you know, tell us about this without revealing your age or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So this is a way that, first of all, that shows whether one has read the content and can make that connection, right? And maybe even suggest another one, and so on. To the point that I saw lately, you put out a song out there and you're like calling out, if you want, for a content piece that will match that song, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, people have said, here's a song, I would love for you to find an article to match it. You know, I've so enjoyed this way that I get to interact with this fintech community. So many of the people are just, they're so overwhelmingly positive, and they have such a desire to give back to others. And so that's been very influential to me. And it, you know, I think it was one of the things that I, you know, in my wildest dreams hoped might happen, where it gives me a mechanism to interact with these people that have been so influential and helped me learn more.
Right.
And it's a mechanism then that I actually get to interact with them directly. It's quite mind-blowing for me.
You know, it seems to me that you started something and now it's transforming into a crowdsourced curation with interactivity, really, that you didn't expect, right?
I didn't. And is it a, you know, function of the time in which we live, right? Where there's still so many of us that don't get the opportunity to get out in the world the way, you know, we once had been, and seeking those personal connections in some way. And especially when they're positive ones, it's so important for all of us. I probably didn't think through, you know, is this just, you know, the right thing at the right time? That wasn't my intent at all, but I actually think that's had a big influence on it.
So have you ever thought of becoming, this is a wild idea. How about Money 2020 invites you to be part of their program, right? 2 or 3 days, whatever it is, in the USA, and you are live on stage when there is a panel discussion or a talk, and you come up with the music and the song that goes with the theme. How about that?
I think that would be wildly entertaining. I should probably reach out to Scarlett after this, if she hasn't watched it, and plant that seed. I think that would be a ton of fun.
Yeah. So bringing the MC, if you want, or role at another level, combining it with music. Why not?
Sure, it's sort of like the virtual DJ. I think that's a role I would enjoy playing.
Yeah, the virtual DJ. And then also, and these are ideas that are coming to me as I speak with you. You mentioned that you have done a karaoke with Chris Skinner. You should start making a group with others that have expressed themselves with music. I don't know if you know Lawrence Wintermeyer, who has, you know, sung this band song about unicorns. Are you aware of that one?
I'm not. I know featured a couple of his posts along the way here while I've been working on the playlist over the last few months. I didn't know he was a secret band leader. I might have to reach out. He's a
band leader, and he did for me. I mean, since I happened to listen to this, I really loved it because he made up the lyrics and the song and so on about, you know, the fintech unicorns. So you can take that to another level. So is there anybody else that is part of this growing sort of fintech playlist initiative that you have started?
Well, you know, certainly it's just me under the covers, but it's thanks to all of the input and support from the community. You know, there are others that obviously they have a similar mindset to me, and I think, you know, mindset is one of the things we wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
I'll give a shout out to Chris Garrett from Bermuda. He and I are actually joking quite often on Twitter that we need to start a fintech band. So maybe we can get Lawrence to be our lead singer. I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely a series of folks to whom that they seem to be enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying their feedback, that's for sure.
And it could be a combination of music, of satire. Why not? You know, there's so much that we can, you know, laugh about in our industry, about, you know, the trends, the people, and so on. And self-sarcasm also is a wonderful way to, you know, deal with what is going on in this market. Barbara, I'm impressed. You've been with one company, Celero Solutions, for all your career, right?
That is true. I came here right after university. I say it's the only real job I've ever had. And, you know, there's been a whole host of opportunities that being here has presented to me. And, you know, 20 years in, I do like to say that I get to work with, I think, the best team. It's a lot of great people and we get to do fun things. So why wouldn't I want to continue doing that? It's been great.
Fantastic, fantastic. So talk to me about the importance of mindset, and especially, you know, in the broad tech industry. Celero Solutions obviously is a tech company, and, you know, the fintech space that interests you is really a tech sort of industry. It's become a tech industry. So how do you see the importance of mindset? Has that changed over time? I know you feel strongly about being part of a tribe, and, you know, that's my compatriots lead these sort of, if you want, all the narrative behind what she writes and shares with us and inspires and sheds light is around that importance. We can talk about, you know, tribe, culture, mindsets. So what is your thinking, and how do you see it playing into your life and the tech industry?
I know that certainly my own mindset has shifted over time. And it certainly has been influenced by not only my own direct experience, but then the experience that I've observed or heard the stories of from others. And I think it ultimately comes down to, if you can find the positive, you know, and focus yourself on the good things that are happening, you know, small wins along the way. So many of the things that we're trying to accomplish in this industry, or, you know, on a more broad societal basis, these are big, hard problems that we're all trying to solve together. And when you see a group of like-minded people, and I love the my tribe language that Lita has, you know, helped me align with as well. If you can find the people that are always seeking the next right thing to do, you'll never go wrong. It is certainly not only the proof that I've seen from the work that my team directly has done, but you can see that in the stories of others as well. If you're always finding a way to, you know, lift up the people in your own team that you're working with, giving them a voice in a place that maybe they don't otherwise have it, being that voice for them if you're the person that's in the room at the time. So many of those things have really become quite apparent and important to me as I've then, had this wonderful career over the last 20 years. If you can't allow that person to speak directly, you need to be able to speak on their behalf. And sometimes the positive only shines through when you can get the negative out of people's way. And then if you have the blessing of being in that leadership position on behalf of others, is there not anything more important than getting those things out of people's way, expanding the horizon of their opportunities, and then as a collective, working to do the same? Because, I think we all bear that, moral responsibility to do better on behalf of others. I really love the title and the story of the book that Bradley and Theo wrote last year on Beyond Good, right? What is really the true purpose of anything that we're doing if it's not seeking to make our communities and the things that we do better for all? And, through doing that, we actually then make ourselves better along the way.
And especially in our industry, meaning the financial services industry that has been tainted with this sort of narrative that we only care about money and it's only greed and so on, and not ignoring rather the people that are in that industry and are doing great work in the spirit that you just described. Because great work, when I first started on Wall Street at Salomon Brothers, great work was about the P&L and how much, capital you could manage and leverage and arbitrage and so on. That was the measure. And fast forward to today, we have a completely different mindset. We're talking about whatever it is, whether it's financial inclusion, whether it's biases in AI algorithms that we use for credit, all these tons of examples and opportunities, if you want, to do good, right? And lift big parts of the society that have been disadvantaged in many, many ways. Which brings me to the topic that is really the theme of the upcoming International Women's Day. The theme and the hashtag, if you want, is break the bias. And for me, break the bias is not only the gender bias. Obviously, there's so many other biases out there. So the question to you, and through your work and from your personal perspective, how do you see that technology could actually help us break the biases and create a fairer, better, more inclusive society, what Web3 aspires? And I'm not talking about the metaverse or anything, but I'm talking about the next generation of the internet that is not only about convenience, but is fairer.
I think, we're at such an interesting turning point in time, I truly believe. We know that, really the effective cost of doing something new, if you look at it from an entrepreneurship point of view, the ability to go and create your own business, as an example, the cost of doing so is trending towards zero. So many tools and capabilities are out there in front of people that I think removes some of those prior assumptions or biases about, how work needed to get done, that it puts the control back in people's hands, potentially. Do you need to be able to be working for a large corporation to have a successful life. And what does that success even mean to people? So the tools are in the hands of the individual at this point. And I think you've brought up an interesting point about, for instance, the data that might be used for small business owners. Access to credit and capital is something that we all know is really important. And in so many of the areas of the world, it is truly the small businesses that make the world go round. However you may be choosing to define that, or whatever that looks like in your particular country, it's very true to say that that spirit of entrepreneurship and the ability for us to continue to support small businesses in our communities are actually really what make the economy work. So I think this subject is one that's important as we think about breaking the bias. It's very true to say that women entrepreneurs receive almost none of the funding that is floating around out there. We've all, I think, seen and shared and talked about the stats to say that there is more money pouring into fintech than any other industry, but yet it's very squarely coming to one group versus what has been traditionally unrepresented groups. Women of color as entrepreneurs would be probably the folks that are receiving the least funding, yet finding ways to be successful. So this is one, I think, for those of us that are paying attention, care about this topic, we need to do a few things, I think. Vote with our wallets, right? Individually choose where we spend our own money. For those of us that are building these tools, be purposeful in that. I love the language that Claire Call Me Jane uses. All algorithms have parents. And we're at the point where we continue to talk about, when is it that the robots are going to come and take all of our jobs, for example. And if you're the one that bears the responsibility of creating and guiding the use of those tools, that is your responsibility to figure out the ways to remove those biases in those tools. Don't just default to the answer that, the computer made me do it, or, I don't understand how the algorithm worked, so you just shrug off and move on. We have to continue to actually, I think, dig deeper as the folks that are working on creating these models and tools, and actually be making them fit for purpose for, call it, everyone. That doesn't, I think, it doesn't make it of lesser quality. It's something you sometimes hear folks say, to be like, well, if I'm going to create a solution that's for one particular community, I'm excluding others, without sometimes remembering that by making inclusiveness and including more folks in the ability to use your products, you're actually making it better for all. So, that's the rising tide raises all boats idea that I think really should be a guiding principle of all of us that are working in this space.
Yeah, you're right. The point that you raised about, the argument that some make that if you focus on a niche area and offer them some technology and service that you're excluding others, it's not a great way to think of this. It's more like, I like to think of, we're a community that's segregated because of different socioeconomic, realities, if you want. And what we are trying to do, and what we should use technology, is to level the field and bring those that are lower up to a better level. And it is a very noble cause. In my mind, I think that if we flip the narrative of feeling that AI is generally a big threat, we think of it as a great opportunity to design technology algorithms that reflect our choice of societal values. We can see it as a huge opportunity. And that's the way we should do it. And it should start right from, early stage startups, creating a mission that has that built in from the beginning. We're building technology for this type of mission, which is to reflect those kinds of values.
And I think that's where it ties right back to mindset, because in order to do that, you need to have that variety and diversity of people that are working to solve those problems, because we all have our own biases.
Of course.
That is very true. Each of us do. And the more similar mindset you have in a room, sometimes you're also then going to bring the exact same kind of biases with you. So that's where that diversity of experience or thought process is so important, for those of us that then also have the responsibility of bringing teams together to work on a problem. You have to always be thinking quite deliberately in that way on, do I see that variety in the people that are thinking about this? Because if not, you do run the risk of, all having the same blind spots. Who can check you on those? It does come with that diversity of thought and experience to do that.
Yeah, and a great space, Barb, right now, I think, is the broad cybersecurity space that is changing as we speak, because if you want, criminals find new ways to do their business, because we are implementing and adopting fast new technologies, because the whole sort of landscape is changing because of digital transformation, embedded finance, all these reasons. And of course, there's RegTech tools and all sorts of other tools, but you need diverse group of officers that are looking over these algorithms and changing what the algorithms need to do, or interpreting what they are saying. That is
I agree with you. There's probably an important question that all teams need to ask themselves. How could this thing that I'm building be misused? Right. And think about that right from the front, because I think that line of questioning and thinking, it's actually an article that Jim Maru's posted this morning, right? Do a pre-mortem on whatever it is, the thing you're trying to do. Try and forecast where you might, fall down or fail. And in doing that, I think that specific question on how could the thing I'm building be used for, nefarious purposes? How could it be misused? If you think through those questions, you're obviously going to drive a much stronger outcome than, not thinking through this could be used in an abusive way or anything else.
Yes, and the same applies, of course, for resilience, because you need to be continuously asking what can go wrong and what I have set up, the process with my technology and so on, becomes dysfunctional and doesn't serve the purpose. Again, there you need sort of like a burning platform to be continuously testing what may not work. So in a sense, what I hear from our discussion is that nothing can be fixed in terms of technology and fit forever for purpose. It needs to be not only adapted in the sense of upgrading, but how we interact with it has to be changing. So that requires a change of mindset, of being alert in terms of what is going out there, and not being just an operator of an algorithm, or when I first started, somebody that knows how to use a spreadsheet and all those functions as an analyst, and then you build models and so on. But you need to be able to decide what's wrong with this and how to change it.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the tools and technologies we put in place for ourselves, they can't possibly be set it and forget it, because the people and the society that are using them, they are ever changing. We are ever changing. So how can we possibly anticipate that we, you know, create a thing and unleash it on the world and don't pay attention, or, you know, be actively ensuring that it's still doing the thing that it needed to do? Or how does it need to change to continue to support the people that it's intended to support? If people think that it doesn't require ongoing time and investment and effort, you know, they probably have too much of a short-term focus. And I think, you know, we've probably come a long way in our own business strategies on assuming that the almighty dollar and, you know, the quarterly return to the shareholders is the only thing that drives us, right? You were talking a bit about that on, this is what it felt like in the early parts of your career. That's just not an acceptable mindset to have anymore. And it's, I think, you know, there's demonstrable evidence of those that take that longer term mindset and focus actually drive better results for their organization. You know, I love the point that our friend Lita does regularly bring up, to say that it's not a bad thing to seek profit in your business. That is the true purpose of the business after all, but it can't be at the expense of everything else.
Yes, and financial profit is one metric, and it is not at war with other profits that are what we would call economic profits, and economic profits are much broader than pure financial profits. So you have to see it in that, it has to be seen in that context. It's not only the company, it's the investors, it's the stakeholders, it's everybody that needs to see it that way. Barb, what song goes with our discussion today?
I should have known that you would ask me that question.
I hadn't planned to ask you.
Oh, this is one that I might need to reflect and get back to you. You know, because I think we've touched on a lot of important themes, but I am going to go down a few music rabbit holes, and we'll chat on Twitter after, because I think there might be a few that come to mind.
Yeah. Let's do that, because this is what I would call a duo content, right? It's not a content by one person and so on. And the other thing that I want to declare here is that I will keep you accountable for the next step, whether it's seeing you on stage on Money 2020 in another capacity, or, you know, forming a fintech band or something like that. So let's see where you take that thought and how you decide to take it to the next level. I am here to cheer and encourage you, and maybe participate in something that you come up with.
I appreciate that support so much. I have felt it virtually already, and I appreciate it, hearing it directly from you. Thank you, Rafi.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you a lot for being with us today. It was a great pleasure discussing with you.
Likewise.